Welcome to the Dark Horror Channel, where peace has no place and fear lurks around every corner. Today we bring you a story that will make you think twice before visiting any old or abandoned place. If you're a fan of creepy tales, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a chilling story. Now, brace yourself for a terrifying journey into the unknown. In a remote village there stood an old house perched atop a desolate hill. This house was known by locals as the house that never forgets. It had a reputation, one of whispers and curses. The villagers often spoke of it in hushed tones, warning others to stay away. But as always, there were those who believed these were just stories, nothing more than local superstition. Samir was one of those people. A thrill-seeker and adventurer, he loved challenges and dismissing what others feared. He had heard tales about the house for years and had decided that the time had come to investigate it for himself. Ignoring the warnings from the villagers, he set out one cold evening, ready to prove that it was just an old abandoned building. The wind howled as he approached the house, the sky covered with dark clouds, as if nature itself was warning him. When he reached the front door, it creaked open with a deep, unsettling sound, almost like the house itself was groaning in protest. Inside, the air was thick with dust. The furniture was covered in old sheets, and the silence was deafening. The house had been abandoned for decades, but something about it felt alive. Samir could feel eyes watching him, yet no one was there. He shook it off as his imagination running wild, and continued exploring the rooms. As he wandered through the upstairs corridor, he suddenly heard faint footsteps behind him. He spun around, but there was no one. Perhaps it was just an echo, he told himself. But the sound grew louder, closer, as though something or someone was following him. The steps quickened, and fear began to creep in. At the end of the hallway, he found a door that seemed to lead to another room. It was locked at first, but with a little push it gave way. Inside, a broken window allowed the cold night air to rush in. The temperature dropped sharply, and Samir felt an eerie chill crawl down his spine. In the corner of the room stood something covered by an old sheet. His curiosity got the better of him, and he moved closer to uncover it. What he found was a large, ornate mirror. But this was no ordinary mirror. Instead of reflecting the room before him, it showed a different space, a dark, twisted version of the room he stood in, and there, in the reflection, was a figure standing behind him. Samir quickly turned around, but the room was empty. Heart pounding, he glanced back at the mirror. The figure was still there, grinning at him with twisted, hollow eyes. The reflection was wrong, distorted, as though it had a life of its own. Panic set in as he tried to step away, but his feet felt frozen to the ground. He heard a whisper from the mirror, so faint yet so clear. "You shouldn't have come." His breath caught in his throat as the reflection in the mirror began to move, its figure shifting, reaching out toward him. He stumbled backward, trying to break free, but something unseen grabbed hold of him. The cold hand tightened around his throat, and for a moment he thought he might pass out. Desperate, Samir pulled away, but his body felt heavy, like it was sinking into the floor. The house seemed to close in around him, warping and shifting. He looked again at the mirror. His reflection was no longer just a reflection. It was pulling him in. With one final scream, Samir was dragged into the mirror, vanishing from the world as though he had never been there. The next morning, the villagers found the house as silent as it had always been. But something had changed. They could hear whispers on the wind, like faint cries for help. Some of them claimed to see a figure standing in the window staring out at the village. But when they looked again, it was gone. And in the years that followed, the story of Samir's disappearance faded into legend. But those who dared to enter that house would find something strange. The reflection in the mirrors would show Samir, his face twisted in a sinister grin, eyes empty and cold. He was still there, waiting for the next curious soul to join him. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more chilling tales and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Do you think you could ever step foot in a place like that? Or would you too be swallowed by the darkness?